His name was Vargan. He was brought to Captain Talbot's after the wreck of his ship. All but 2 of the others were drowned, but you've heard all of this.
The mere circumstance, not what he was like.
He told me he came from Bordeaux. At the time of his wreck, he said he was a first officer, but I don't know who he really was. He seemed a gentleman. That is all. I admired his courage. His wounds were most dreadful. He was in great pain those first days and in great danger, yet he never cried out, not the slightest groan. He was very handsome. No man had ever paid me the kind of attention he did. As I nursed him, he told me foolish things about myself, that he could not understand why I was not married. Such things. He called me cruel when I would not let him kiss my hand. Then the day came when I thought myself cruel as well.
And you were cruel no longer.
Yes.
I understand.
You cannot, Mr. Smithson, because you are not a woman. Because you are not a woman who was born to be a farmer's wife, but educated to be something better. And you're not a governess, Mr. Smithson. A young woman without children, paid to look after children. The closest spectator of a happy marriage. Home. Family. By the time Vargan recovered, he had declared his attachment to me. There was talk of marriage. He wished me to go with him back to France. He made me believe his whole happiness depended on it, that my happiness depended on it as well. He had found out much about me. He left to take the Weymouth ship. He told me he should wait 1 week. I said I would never follow him. But as one day passed and then another, the sense of solitude that has plagued me all my life swept back over me. I felt I would drown in it. And when the 5th day came, I could endure it no longer.
So you went to Weymouth?
He seemed overjoyed to see me. Was all a lover should be, and yet I cannot tell you how, but I knew he was changed. I saw he was insincere, a liar. I saw a marriage to him would have been a marriage to a worthless adventurer. I saw all of this within 5 minutes of that meeting, but to see something is not the same as to acknowledge it. I stayed. I ate the supper that was served. I drank the wine he pressed on me. It did not intoxicate me. I think it made me see more clearly. Is that possible? He could no longer hide the nature of his real intentions, nor could I pretend to surprise. My innocence was false from the moment I chose to stay. I gave myself to him.
I did not ask you to tell me these things.
What I beg you to understand, Mr. Smithson, is not that I did this shameful thing, but why I did it. I did it so that I should never be the same again. I did it so that people should point at me, so they should know that I have suffered and suffer. I could not marry that man, so I married shame. It was a kind of a suicide. I knew no other way to break out of what I was. If I had left that room and returned to Mrs. Talbot's and resumed my former existence, I know that by now I should truly be dead and by my own hand. What has kept me alive is my shame. My knowing that I truly am not like other women because I have set myself beyond the pale. I am nothing. I'm hardly even human anymore. I am the French lieutenant's whore. He left the next day. There was a ship. He had excuses. He told me he would return at once, but I knew he was lying, and I said nothing.
When did you learn that he was married?
I received a letter a month later. I felt no pain. I replied without anger.
And you have concealed this from everyone but myself?
Yes.
To punish yourself?
To be what I must be. An outcast.
My dear Miss Woodruff. I fear if every woman who had been treated by some unscrupulous member of my sex were to behave as you have, the whole country would be full of outcasts.
It is, Mr. Smithson.
Please, I did not mean to... Please, step back a little. It is not safe here. This does but confirm my previous sentiment. You must now leave Lyme.
If I leave here, I leave my shame, then I'm lost.
I must remind you of your promise to me, Miss Woodruff.
Now you know the truth, can you still tender that advice?
Most certainly.
Then you forgive me my sin.
You place far too high a value on my forgiveness. The essential is that you forgive yourself, and you can never do that here.
You did not answer my question, Mr. Smithson.
I am convinced, we are all convinced, that you have served sufficient penance. I believe you are forgiven.
And now can be forgotten.
We await only your decision to interest ourselves on your behalf.
I do not deserve such kindness.
Say no more.
I must come to Mrs. Tranter's.
Excellent. There will, of course, be no necessity to speak of our meetings.
I shall say nothing.
You have shared your secret. I think you shall find it to be unburdening in many ways. You have nothing to fear from life. Now, had we better not descend?